Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to the Caleb Knits podcast. Excuse the squeaky chair. My name is Caleb, and I am so glad that you have joined us today for the 5th episode of the podcast. Today, if you haven't noticed, or if you're an infrequent viewer of the podcast, I have a guest here today. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Mom. Anyway, my name is Bonnie, and Caleb asked if I would do a special guest appearance last time, and so I did that, and today he asked if I would come and co-host, so yeah. I'm excited.
People enjoyed you being on the podcast last time, so I'm glad that you're here. You can find me on social media on Instagram and Twitter at Caleb9513. Both of those accounts are public, so feel free to follow me there. And you can find me on Ravelry as CalebJeffrey13. I'm not as active there, and I have yet to open up a podcast group. But if you're interested in participating in a podcast group, let me know and I will get that started. Where can we find you on the internet?
Well, I'm not quite as connected probably as I should be. Facebook is my main one. Bonnie Austin there, and Bonnie Austin 18 or at Bonnie Austin 18 on Twitter.
What about your Instagram?
You just set that up for me, and I don't know what my.
Give me your phone.
Oh, okay.
Look at it. Thank you.
Oh.
I had to unlock it.
Sorry. We'll speed this part up. A lot of times Caleb and I, people think we look alike, but he can't open my phone with face recognition yet. So
let's see your
Instagram.
Well, you have a website called BonnieAustin.com.
Yeah. I have I'm a retired teacher, and so I have set up a business consulting with school districts and other interested people. Consulting on math education, and yeah, my website is BonnieAustin.com.
I'll put it right there. And your Instagram username. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
AustinBonnie1.
AustinBonnie1. All right.
So,
thank you.
Thank you. So we'll talk more about our health here in the blather segment, but if you're watching this out of context right now in the United States and globally, we're experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic. So in Kansas, where we live, we've been ordered to stay at home. Obviously she's not at home. But our stay at home order is essential travel, and taking care of family, and that sort of thing. So, we're practicing social distancing guidelines, when we're out in public. If we do have to go out in public, our main stay-at-home order is just try to avoid being in public places. So that's that. Do you see Lola at attention? I wonder if someone's here.
One of the things that I'm very happy about is that taking care of family is one of the non-restrictions within our stay-at-home order. So I don't need to leave Caleb here at his house all alone all the time. So he comes over, I go to his house, we take care of each other.
And we'll talk more about this in more
okay.
moment. So, also additionally, I have my 2 babies here, Ivy and Lola. Ivy is currently a puddle of black and white on the couch, and Lola, you might have just heard her jump off the couch. I'm not apologizing for the click-clacks that you can hear, or if they go and get a drink in the bowl, because they live here too. Okay, so first part of the podcast is finished objects, and I have none. I bolstered on the podcast last time that, I'm gonna have all this time to knit, and I have, and I've made considerable progress on one project, and actually considerable progress on 2 projects, really, but I don't have any finished objects this time. But Miss Bonnie, you do, so you want to tell us about it?
I do. I'm a fairly new knitter, as if you watched the podcast last time, and one of the things that I've started to do and have really enjoyed is cabling. So I was looking at some patterns for what I could do with cabling and came across this. So here's my finished project cowl. This is the Parthenon cowl by Irina Anakieva. All right, found it on Ravelry. I'm gonna see if I can get it. Yeah, so you check out that cable.
Pardon my nails.
Okay, I was super excited to try a different cable, and this came out beautifully. The yarn is, Caleb, help me out.
Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, which is their worsted weight woolen spun in the camper colorway.
Yeah, love it, love it. I blocked out really nice. When I first put it on, before I had blocked it, I thought, okay, well, I made that for no reason because I'm not gonna wear that. But once it was blocked, it just made the shape really, really nice, and absolutely love it. A couple of things about this pattern that was new for me is short rows. Okay, we start with the ribbing, and then we do some short rows here in the center to add some length and some depth into that braid or cable. Sorry. Anyway, so it was exciting. Also new for me on this was a tubular cast on and a tubular bind off. So that was also a new concept for me. I'd never done that before, and I love it. It worked out really nice.
Yeah. What did you have to say about the tubular bind off you told me yesterday?
Well, one of the things that I'm learning as a fairly new knitter is when you're really tired, don't try to do something new. I so bad wanted to finish this that night that it's like, I'm just going to stay up and I'm going to do this bind off. Okay, there's been some mistakes in it because I was tired. So next time, I'm going to wait till morning when I'm feeling a little fresher and do something new. Mm-hmm. So if you're tired, let it go. It'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. It's so pretty. I love Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. What was your experience with the yarn?
I really liked the yarn. Every once in a while, probably the most aggravating part was I'd run across what I call a straw. As you're going, you once in a while had a really coarse piece
That's
in
called
there.
Something when in spinning. What's it called? But yeah, I mean it's debris that is in the fleece.
Yeah. But anyway, I loved the yarn. It just had a nice texture and a nice worked up beautifully.
Yeah.
So, I might lose it. Nah.
It's a little too tight for me.
Yeah.
It's really cute though.
Yeah.
It'd be nice for South Dakota when we go.
It would.
And
yeah.
Just sits in. That's what I love about cowls. They just kind of sit underneath what you're wearing, and then I always like those big cowls that you can pull up, and that's kind of.
Wonder if this would work for a pandemic mask.
You know, it's probably not that filtered, but
yeah,
very nice. I love it. I love that color, and I just want to brag on my mother. Can we talk about how even her tension is? I mean, you've been a knitter since
about
August.
6 months. Yeah.
And her tension is very even. You're a thrower, right? You move the yarn with your right hand.
Yeah.
That's how I knit. That's how I taught her. And not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm a very even knitter as well. And I think that has to do with the way that we tension our stitches as we go. So, love it.
Thank you.
I got the leftovers, and I'm gonna swatch for a pullover because I really like this color. I think it would make just a nice sweatshirt. But anyway.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else you want to add about that?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Moving on to works in progress. This is where I have quite a few. So I'll show one, and then you can show yours, and then I'll finish mine out. So the first one that I have, I'm looking at it on the floor, and I actually have one that's not on the show notes.
Okay.
But I'll start with that one because it's closest here. Is my blanket. I put in a considerable amount of progress on this last time and then forgot to show it. So I just wanted to show you. This is the Northeasterly blanket by Skein-Anigans. And I want to make sure I pull out the right needle. You mind holding that? And if you remember the last time you saw this, it was just one strip, but now I've finished a strip, which means I finished a whole ball. This is knit out of Knit Picks Felici, which is a striped sock yarn in the Lasso colorway. And I've started knitting the second stripe. Oh, that looks so good on the camera.
It does.
I love this project. So, yeah.
How long is one?
I don't know. I didn't probably.
Did you measure?
What do you think? A meter and a half, maybe.
Probably a meter and a half. It's more than a meter.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite my wingspan, but go that way. But yeah, there it is.
There it is.
And what I'm thinking is these strips are, I think, if I have, so I have 20 balls of this Felici. And what I think is I will do 10 across, see how big that gets me. I'm guessing, let's see, what do you think this is? Maybe like 1.5 inches, 2 inches?
2 inches.
2 inches, so 20 inches across, that's almost 2 feet.
I think you're going to want it bigger than that.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
But I also want it longer.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see once you get there.
So because I like the way it looks vertically more than I like the way that it looks horizontally, if I would have thought about it, I would have had the chevrons going the other direction, like the points of the chevrons going the other direction if it was horizontal for each row. But, we'll see. Honestly, this will probably end up being a lap blanket on the back of a chair in my living room. So it doesn't necessarily, it's more of a decorative item than a useful item.
Yeah.
So I don't know that function needs to play so much into its design, but
it's beautiful.
It really is. I really love it. So again, that's the Northeasterly Blanket by Skanamigans, knit out of Knit Picks Felici in the Lasso colorway.
I'll take it.
Oh, I got it. I'll put it away. Tell us about your whip.
All right. I am working on a wrap, a pattern called Wrapped in a Hug. When we were in South Dakota, my mom lives up there, so when we were there, we had gone to the store in Sioux Falls called Athena's Fibers and found an amazing yarn. This yarn is called Arido.
It's by Plymouth Yarns.
By Plymouth Yarns. It is 70% baby alpaca. So you can imagine how soft this yarn is. And
it has merino in it as well.
30% merino, or like about
7% merino, 23% nylon.
Nylon, sorry. Anyway, Lori Harris, Lori A.P. Harris, I believe is the owner of the store, and she created this pattern, and so I bought the pattern from her. It's a 1.5 wrap that is created by, here, let's just show one of the triangles here. It's created by starting with a, what is this called?
A garter tab.
A garter, okay, a garter tab. And then we have 6 triangular panels that we slip a stitch on the edge of each triangle every other row. And
you do yarn overs for that.
You do yarn overs for that, yeah. Did I say slip? Sorry. Yarn overs is what I meant. With a garter column in between each of the triangles. I have 4 of the skeins completed. Working on skein 5. I believe I'm going to need all 6 before I'm finished. Timed myself last night though, and I don't know. There's well over 600 stitches in a row, and it's taken me about an hour a row. So lots and lots and lots of stitches, lots of stockinette, but I love the fabric, and it's so soft. I can't wait for it to be finished.
The fabric is beautiful. It has a lovely drape to it. That's the nice thing about baby alpaca, or alpaca in general. And this is one of those blown yarns, I believe, where there's like a nylon tube. Yeah, and then the fiber is blown into it. So the nylon content is just kind of like a tube.
Okay.
So it's really, that makes it really airy as well. So even though this is 500 grams or 450 grams of yarn, it doesn't feel super heavy right now.
No.
Because it has a lot of air in it.
Yeah.
And that will make it very warm as well when it's all done.
Yeah. So that's my work in progress.
And that, again, is Plymouth Yarns in their Aredo
And
line.
I believe this is their rose color.
Yes, rose. Very nice. This is, I think you'll be so excited when this is done. I mean, it's basically a sweater. Wouldn't you agree?
Right, without the structure of having to do arms and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm excited.
It's beautiful. I love it. Next thing I want to show you, pick a color, red or green?
Green.
Green. Okay. Next thing I'm going to show you is the sweater that I cast on for my friend last week and said, yeah, I'll have this done. Well, I don't.
You're getting close.
I have a sleeve left. So, living in a fat squirrel bag. Oh, do you want to say what bag you were using? It's a Mrs. Brown's bucket
Mrs.
bag.
Brown's bucket.
One of her crochet fabrics.
Mm-hmm.
We love Amy Beth and we love Jody. Jody's a grocery girl. Did you know that?
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
I have like another bucket bag this size and then a smaller one.
A bigger one.
That one's bigger. I thought they were similar.
I
Anyway,
don't know.
I love them.
And then I'm using my Amy Beth bag. I sing her praises almost every week. It's beautiful. This is her Erin size bag. And living in this bag is the Bosco sweater by Elizabeth Smith. And like I said, I am a sleeve away from being finished.
Hold it.
So, thank you. So this is a sweater, like I said, knitting for a friend. And it is knit out of a bulky, I'd say this is a chunky weight yarn. It is very, very thick. Upcycled wool from Knit Picks. It's their Verde color, which is green in Spanish. And it's a lovely drop shouldered pattern. You're actually kind of holding it far out, but you see all this length over here. Her shoulders are actually about right here. So if you let go, so you've got a nice drop shoulder there, and it's in a broken rib pattern on the body. And then the sleeve is 1x1 ribbing. Yesterday I did the collar. It took me all of about 10 minutes. The sleeves really don't take that long. I just hate knitting sleeves. Despise it. And yeah, I'm excited to have this done. My friend lives in another city and her parents live here, and she's one of those people that I wish I could just go and see more often, and especially right now because she lives there by herself. But I love it. Do you love it?
I love it. Very heavy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a light fall sweater. I mean,
No.
this one's going to keep you warm.
Yeah. It is. So each ball is 100 grams, which means 10 balls is a kilogram. And right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a kilo. I teach 5th grade. I know these things. And I have 13 balls in here right now, and I still have another sleeve, which will probably be about a ball and a half. So it'll be around 1.5 kilograms when it's done, if that. Those of you who are not American, it will probably be easier for you to imagine what that is, but it's 15 balls of sock yarn, or any 100 gram skein of yarn. So that's that. I love it. I think, I don't know what my thing is with blankets, but I've been thinking I would love to knit a blanket in this pattern, in this stitch pattern out of this yarn, incorporating a steek. So maybe I'll get that going here, but it's gonna have to wait until the next paycheck, and maybe the paycheck after that, and the paycheck after that, because yikes, when you're home a lot, you have a lot of time to online shop for yarn.
Not good.
Hey, you did it too.
I know, I did it too.
So, sorry, I'll stop touching my face. It's
hard to do.
It's hard to do, especially when you are handling fiber, because now.
Or the hair gets in your face.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other works in progress for you?
Not right now.
Okay.
No, I'm getting ready to start one, and I can't wait to tell you about it. But let's finish talking about works in progress.
Yeah. We'll show this one. Amy Beth bag, no surprise. You've seen this one before. This is my Winterfjell cardigan.
He's so close to getting it done. I know I like 3 or 4 podcasts now, he said, I'll have this done the next time. You have.
I don't need your sass. I don't need your attitude. I don't need...
And he will eventually get it done.
I don't need the negativity, ma'am. But I have a sleeve. That's new. Where the hell is the sleeve hole? Jesus. Oh my God, and I just pulled on a float. So anyway, I have my first sleeve done with decreases. And here's one of my things that, first of all, let's just admire it. It's beautiful. Yeah, isn't that fun? Do you hear that? ASMR. Anyway, it is a beautiful sweater. It will be a something that is treasured for a very long time. You know, it's just a very classic sweater. One of the things I wanted to talk about this though is learning about your body and learning about modifying patterns. So, being a bigger body, and an oddly shaped body. I know that's strange to say, but would you put it down?
No, I'm just gonna sit here behind it.
No, I want to have a conversation with you. But you know, the way that my body is structured, I have a lot of area up here and likewise on the back. Okay, so that makes fit up in this area really difficult sometimes. So I've just been experimenting with different shapes, and this is kind of an experiment that I've learned from. It fits, and it fits well, but there are some things that I will do differently next time. So in order to achieve the bust circumference that I needed to add about, given my stitch gauge and given the length, well, let's talk about gauge first. Given the stitch gauge that I was getting with this yarn, I needed about one more round of increases to accommodate the width that I needed at my fullest bust, which is about 67, 68, plus some positive ease. And so I was able to do that. What I did not consider, and that was stitch gauge, so stitch gauge is the horizontal gauge. What I did not consider was the row gauge I was getting. Just because that's something that's a little bit more arbitrary. You can just kind of measure as you go. Well, if I had paid more attention to that, I would have known that before I split for the sleeves, it probably would have not been a bad idea to add maybe an inch or two just in stockinette from the completion of the increases in the yoke. Because when I put this on, the armpit sits right in my armpit. Yeah. It sits, I mean, right there, which is not, I don't like the word flattering, which is not uncomfortable, which is not something that I wouldn't wear. I mean, it makes it a little bit more fitted up here, which in the style of this cardigan, I think a classic shape has some fit to it. But it makes for it just makes me think about, okay, so when I do a circular yoke next time, let's pay more attention to
where this
to row gauge. Also, I kind of after the chart, I've just gone rogue on this pattern. I'm not using any counts. I'm not using any rates of decreases for the sleeve. I think the pattern in my size calls for every 6/10 of an inch, which is that possible to do maybe it's 6/10 of a
you can do 6/10 of an inch.
Can you? Can inches be divided into tenths? I thought they could only be divisible by 4s.
Well, I mean, you can do it, but yeah, it's not going to be a standard tick on your
60% of an inch.
Whatever.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So anyway, but I've done a rate of decrease that works for me. And Ivy just laid on the tripod because that's what she wanted to do. Maybe I'll
It's all right. We can wiggle a little with Ivy.
Yeah. So anyway, also to complete this sweater, and I think this is what's holding me back a little, is I need to pick up all the stitches on the bottom and knit about 15 more rows of ribbing on the bottom. It was an unfortunate decision on my part to neglect to do that as I was working on the body, but it's something that needs to be done in order to have the garment that I want. Yep. So that, I don't know that it'll be done next time. I'm not going to say that anymore.
But let's do this. Maybe you're not going to show it to him again until it's done.
Yeah, let's do that, because I mean, you've seen it every episode of the podcast. The yarn that I'm using is Holst Garn Super Soft in the Venetian colorway, and this is my last ball of it that I have right now. I have 2 more balls coming from Denmark because I just, again, going rogue, the yarn requirements that were in the pattern do not match what I'm using. So, and lastly, for my work in progress, maybe this is why I don't have anything done, is a sock. So I actually was planning on this sock last time, and I talked about it, but I cut that footage out because I wasn't sure I wanted to talk about why I was knitting the sock. But I feel like I can, because I have a sock to talk about now. So I have the first sock done. Okay. And this is just this is kind of my vanilla recipe that I use for my socks. It's a 3x1. It's based off of the Wise Hilda pattern on Ravelry. And it's a 3x1 rib, top down, with a heel flap and gusset, and just like your normal toe.
Do you have it ribbed on top as well? No.
Well, it's, okay, so the pattern Wise Hilda is you do ribbing all the way down here. Mm-hmm. I don't like ribbing. So, the way that I knit my socks, regardless if I do toe up or cuff down, I've been a cuff down knitter lately. I think I prefer top down. That's just how I learned. But for my feet, I wear a size 16, so for me, it's also wise to knit from the toe up, so I can get the fit needs to be in the foot if I want to use all my yarn. But anyway, Wise Hilda is 3x1 on the cuff and then on the top of the foot with a heel flap and gusset. But for me, where I need the most stretch, because that's what ribbing does, is right here, and I need it to cinch on my leg. So after I get past the decreases is where I stop doing the 3x1, and then it's just a stockinette sock down the foot. The yarn that I'm using, is Legacy Fiber Arts. This is my first time. I have quite a bit of Legacy Fiber Arts, but this is my first time using it. And, oh, it's attached to the second sock. I was like, why is this resisting me? For fuck's sake. Sorry.
You didn't do your disclaimer.
Oh yeah, sorry. I say bad words. This is their Whoville. This is their Whoville colorway, which was one of their Christmas colorways. And I love it. It knits up beautifully. You know, I am not always a fan of speckly hand-dyed yarns. I'm more of a tonal or solid colored yarn kind of person, if you can't tell. Sorry, I'll pick that up later. But I love the way that this has knit up. I'm knitting several pairs of socks for people right now. These are for my friend, one of my friends who lives in Chicago, who was unfortunately laid off from their job indefinitely. They work in the entertainment industry, and so when you can't gather in groups, you can't entertain people. So I can't do a whole lot financially to help them out, but I can knit them socks. So I have 3 friends actually who are in that same boat. All worked at the same place. So you'll see some socks here in the future. I did cast on the second one just this morning. This has been done since like last week, and I just cast on the second one. Socks take me maybe like a day and a half. They really are not a hard project for me, because that's what I knit the most of when I first started knitting, was just sock after sock after sock. So actually, I was rather proud of myself, because this heel flap, I didn't need a pattern, and I haven't done a heel flap in gusset for a while, but I took my knowledge of proportions and of short rows, and I just did the heel turn all by myself, and I'm really proud of that. So.
And that makes me proud, because I'm a former math teacher, and as Caleb was going through school, math was not his thing, and now it's amazing how much he uses math in knitting.
Yeah, well, and I'm more open to math now.
Yeah.
I really quite enjoy math.
Because there's now a purpose for math in your mind.
Yeah, well, and it's just easier to understand. But that is a conversation.
That's a whole nother story.
About education in the United States. So,
yes.
So let's talk about some future knits. You know, in this time where we are at home a lot, we have a lot of time to watch podcasts, browse Ravelry, and what else?
Knit. We have time to knit. Oh, and buy yarn.
Buy yarn. There are lots of festivals that have been canceled recently. There are lots of small businesses that can't be open, and there are some larger companies that are supporting local yarn stores. So I've certainly been.
Well, we have to do our part.
Yeah.
We have to do our part to help the economy.
Yeah.
So that means buy yarn.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But also, like, we want to see our friends succeed, right?
Exactly.
It's not necessarily capitalistic rah-rah. But anyway, so we've picked some patterns, and we've bought some patterns, and we've bought some yarn. So
we have.
I am going to go ahead and show this first,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about this because we're both doing it. But Brooklyn Tweed was having I think they still are, a thing where you can support your local yarn store, or support a stockist of Brooklyn Tweed by using a coupon code. And also their Brooklyn Tweed was on sale. So Brooklyn Tweed is kind of a boutique yarn. It's what Bonnie's cowl was knit out of. And it can be rather expensive, but it is beautiful. It is beautiful yarn. So I took advantage of the sale and supported a local yarn store and bought a sweater quantity of Shelter, which is their worsted weight woolen spun yarn. And I have this in the wood smoke colorway. And one of the things that I think is the epitome, when I started as a knitter with a capital K, I still do, I swooned over Brooklyn Tweed patterns. I don't know if you've been as exposed to them as I have, but especially Michelle Wong, beautiful cables, beautiful, intricate, classic work. And their yarn that supports the pattern, or the patterns that support the yarn, is beautiful as well. So I've always wanted to knit a Brooklyn Tweed pattern out of Brooklyn Tweed yarn, and now is my opportunity. So I'm going to be knitting the Radmere. Sorry, my eccentric neighbor just drove by. He's interesting, isn't he?
Interesting.
He's not doing a very good job of social distancing, by the way. This yarn is going to grow up to be the Radmere cardigan by Michelle Wong, which is a lovely all-over cabled cardigan pieced together, and it will I can just tell it's going to be what the brain work that I need. That's one thing about knitting. For me, I get rather bored with just the stockinette. I enjoy the technical aspects of knitting, the kind of workout, if you will. So I think an all-over cabled
That's one of the things I enjoyed about my cowl is I really had the best of both worlds. Mm-hmm. Because every round you had to stop and seriously think about what's this cable row look like. And then you could finish up the round with stockinette And then I was like, okay, now let me think again. So it was a nice balance of the two.
Yeah. And so I purchased this yarn. I can't promise that it will be my last purchase of Shelter before this is all over, because I like that camper color in just like a plain sweatshirt. So
we'll see.
We'll see what I get done first.
Right.
Maybe that will be my prize for finishing the Winterfell. What do you think?
I don't know. We got a knit along that we're gonna do. So.
Wow, you're an amazing co-host. What a segue. Let's talk about our knit along, Bonnie.
Again, I've never done this before.
Here, do you want some help?
Okay.
Well, let's show them. Let's do a reveal.
Okay. You want these?
Sure.
You take the
Is
light
this
colors.
the right order?
Yep. Ooh, now I dropped one.
Oh, for crying out loud. Okay,
Sorry.
you're good.
Sorry. Ready?
1, 2, 3. Ooh.
Anyway.
Did that just make your heart fall out of your butt or what?
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm also very scared, very nervous to do this, but
What's it gonna be, Bonnie?
we are going to make a sweater. Caleb, myself, and our friend Amy,
And maybe Jen.
and maybe Jen, are going to do a knit along on a sweater called
City Limits by Tanis Lavallee. It is her newest sweater pattern that she was going to release at Knit City, Montreal, but that has been postponed until July. So she's released it early, and it's beautiful. I'll put a picture of it up here.
Yeah.
But talk about it.
I don't know what to all say about the pattern.
What makes you want to knit that pattern?
It just, number one, it looks so soft and smooth, and I really like that. It's very versatile.
Do you mean visually or
Visually.
like okay?
Visually, it's also, she also has the pattern in a fade, and I really like the concept of a fade. It's a reversible sweater. You can do it with the purl side out or the knit side out. You have some options as far as the bind off, whether you want to do a ribbing or other types of bind offs in the neck. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's got some cool design features along the side seams, long sleeve, and anyway, I'm super excited about trying it. One of the things that I love about it is it's a fade, because I love that concept. But I was really, being a new knitter, not being really confident about how to pick a fade. I had a new experience. And that was, we started online looking at the fades that different websites had listed. And it was like, oh yeah, I kind of like that. Oh no, I kind of like that. And Caleb said, okay, I know what you need to do. I said, what's that? He said, you need to get on Yarn Social's website and book a virtual shopping.
Yes, and Yarn Social is, it's not the most local yarn store to us, but it is what I would consider my local yarn store.
Yarn Social is in Kansas City.
Which
so
is
yeah.
how many miles from here?
Oh, I don't know. It's a 6-hour drive.
Okay, did you hear that? Our local yarn store is
a
6-hour drive.
But here's something that's cool. We have, in our little knitting circle, we have decided as soon as all of this is over, we're taking a field trip to Kansas City to Yarn Social. So Trish, you better just be ready for us, because we're coming. All right? Because we cannot wait. But what I did was I got online and booked a virtual shopping time with Trish at Yarn Social, and it was phenomenal, because we just sat down and talked about, okay, what pattern do you have? What weight are you thinking? What kind of color scheme do you like? And I said, I like purples. And so this is what Trish found for us online. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold, it's a fingering weight yarn, so I'm gonna hold it double.
Because the pattern is a worsted weight pattern.
It's worsted weight pattern, but it also in the pattern talks about how you can fade. You can do a color, and then you do the two together, and then you do a single color, and you do the two together. single, 2 together. Anyway.
So it has aspects of marling and fading together, and that's what I think really gives it that clean.
Yeah.
I hate to use the word muddled, but that
Well, I didn't want distinctive stripes.
color blocking.
Yeah, I didn't want that. So I think this will give it that fade without. And then we were watching Tanis's webcast or podcast, and she had talked about how what she did in her sample was to use, what's it called? I can't see that. I don't have my glasses on. On the top of my head. Mohair. Okay, let me check this out. Oh, mohair. Anyway, so she uses a strand of mohair to also soften those colors and give that consistency throughout. So this will be a first, but I'm going to hold double with mohair. See if I can do it.
Yes, and I'm also going to be knitting the City Limits sweater. I ordered a fade kit from Goosey Fibers. Goosey Fibers is probably one of my favorite indie dyers. She has a Schitt's Creek mystery sock club, and I've been subscribing to that, and I've purchased all of them. So far we've had Alexis, David, Johnny Rose, Stevie, and then Moira is up next. And so I'm excited for those. But the way that she uses color is just phenomenal. And I purchased this fade kit. It's her Hufflepuff, because if you didn't know, I'm a Hufflepuff. You're a Hufflepuff too, aren't you?
Yep.
And so I'm going to be using that fade, but it's not here yet. So we'll see it next time. But yeah, huge shout out to Trish. I sat in on Mom's virtual shopping trip, and it was so much fun. It was, I just love the retail side of yarn stores. I think that's...
And we have a dream. We have a dream of opening our own yarn store at some point. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I've already got the location scouted.
We have a dream.
Yeah, we have student loans.
Yeah, we have student loans, but we have a dream of a yarn store someday.
Yes. All right, so let's move on to reading and watching. What are we reading and watching? Do you mind handing me my books? So I'm not a huge TV person. I don't know if it's because of my generation or if it's just who I am as a person, but I have a really hard time following through with series. Books, TV, I'm much more of a movie, standalone book person. And so this time I've had kind of a hard time finding things to entertain myself. I've watched a lot of movies, haven't watched a lot of TV. But so I've been doing a lot more reading. All that to say, I've been doing a lot more reading. It's kind of what I do at the very end of the day to relax myself, because having anxiety, things like this, the way that our world is right now, I was losing sleep, to be honest. And this has really helped me. So I want to talk about these things. This, I think I talked about last time. I'm not sure if I had started it, but this is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong, and it is an epistolary novel, which means it's, actually I think it's a fictitious memoir of some sort. I think it's based on his life, the author's life, but it's written in letters to his mother who can't read. So it's kind of like that's why it's an epistolary novel, but but it's really beautiful in that sense that it's really a bearing of thoughts and feelings because his mother can't read it. Looking at the cover, it's not the happiest of books, but it's very good, and I'm really enjoying this. This is kind of like if I'm reading during the day, this is what I'm reading. I'm also, I'm a big fan of ebooks. Living in a small house, do you see the cover? Living in a small house, I don't have a lot of space, but the space that I do have is filled up with books and yarn. So I need to stop doing that and start using my Kindle more. So on Kindle Unlimited, one of the things that I like to do when I get stressed is read just escapist things, but I like escapist based in reality. So romance novels are kind of where I go. And anyway, this one that I picked out, this is by one of my favorite romance authors. Her name is Lynn Van Dorn, and it's called Damage Control. And this one is very interesting because it's not so much about the romance. She has some other books that are just porn, essentially.
Pretty slutty.
Yeah, skeezy.
Skeezy.
I like that word. But that one, it's actually a series, after I just said I don't like series, but I'm invested in the characters in a romance novel, who I understand your liking of The Bold and the Beautiful now. But it uses the trope of fake dating. So essentially the two characters, one is like a Hollywood celebrity, and the other one's a family friend doctor. He's a doctor who is a family friend who also used to, it's hard to explain, but it's very, very emotional. The characters are working through a lot of mental health, and using that trope of fake dating means that they're dating in order to achieve something else. So the star gets into some trouble with a sex tape, essentially, and to kind of curve the publicity to show, this isn't going to ruin me, they put him in a fake dating scenario with someone who's upstanding, who's a doctor, right? And so, but they fall in love, and I don't think they realize it right now that they love each other. And there's this other element in where the doctor used to be with the Hollywood star's brother, but the brother is closeted.
And you make fun of me for watching a soap opera. That's exactly what that is.
I know, but also trigger warnings. I will give you some trigger warnings for self-harm. That's quite central to the storyline. Also trigger warnings for conversion therapy. I was not expecting it, and it took me quite aback when I read some of those scenes. And I did some research on the book, and the camp that they're talking about in the book is based off of another camp that has since been closed because of brutality. But anyway, there are some trigger warnings there, but I really like the book.
Good.
It's kind of my I take a shower, I get myself clean, I feel everything from the day has just gone, and I can sit down and read something where the world isn't so fucked, right? So that's it.
I'm not a big reader, as you know, but I do love television, and I grew up in a time when Netflix and all of those subscription things were not available. So you watched a show Tuesday night, and you waited till next Tuesday night to watch the next episode. So I have the opportunity to binge watch now, episode after episode after episode, and I'm loving it. I caught a series, actually I just finished it this week.
The whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah. It was a series from the BBC called The Midwife. Loved it. I really enjoy historical fiction. And so this was from the 50s and the 60s in London, and the Nonatus House, which is basically a convent who brings in nurses to be midwives, and fabulous. If you like historical fiction, you will love. But there was 8 seasons and like 12 episodes per season, so it took me a long time. But that was my go-to. So looking for a new one. So if you've got some suggestions, some good historical fiction series on Netflix, jot them down, get them to us so that I know what to watch next.
I'm trying to get her to watch Outlander. I know the first couple seasons are on Netflix. I think you would like it. It has just a little twist of science fiction with time traveling, but primarily it is historical fiction.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And there are books that go along with it. I've kind of stalled out on the books because how many times can we read about Jamie Fraser's butt? But I've enjoyed the TV show.
Okay.
I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but what else did we watch?
Oh, we watched Tiger King. It was just weird. But we watched all 7 episodes.
Right, and it's like I was telling you and my brother Joshua, it wasn't that I was in it for the content.
Right.
I was in it because these people are fucking crazy.
They are.
And just things would happen and you'd go, what the hell? And then something else would happen and it's just like...
Yeah.
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 So anyway.
But it's kind of fun because, you know, now on a lot of social media, lots of people have watched Tiger King. So there was a question the other day on Facebook of what should we tell our kids about the Easter Bunny and why the Easter Bunny isn't coming this year. Should we tell them that it was killed by the coronavirus, or...
That bitch Carol Baskin fed him to her tigers.
I don't know. Something happened.
The way that Joe Exotic talked about Carol Baskin, they just hated each other.
Oh yeah, that's pure hatred.
Yeah, and he has the coronavirus now. Did you read that?
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
In jail.
Yeah. At first he was moved because there was somebody in the jail with coronavirus, but now he has it. Crazy. I can't say that I feel bad.
I know, but did she really kill her husband?
Yes, she did.
Well, then why isn't her butt in jail?
Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. We ready for word vomit?
We're getting right. I mean, word vomit is where we're at.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about vitriol anyway, so sorry for the chair. So, let's do a health update. I'm healthy. You
I'm
healthy?
I'm good.
Everyone in our house is healthy, or in your house is healthy,
Yep.
other than like a cold.
Little sore throat going around, but that's it.
Yep. There has been another confirmed case in our county, and since we're the largest city in our county, really about the only city in our county, it's most likely that it's here in our city. So we're just taking extra precautions, being extra safe about who we come into contact to. Like I said, we do not go into public places anymore. Really, the only public place we go to is the grocery store.
And even there, when possible, we order online and go pick up.
Mm-hmm. They've expanded their team for pickup, so there are more spots available.
Yeah.
But yeah, with all of this going on, I've had the experience of teaching 5th grade online. We just had our first week, and it's not terrible. The thing I have to keep reminding myself is that this is new for everybody. Mm-hmm. I do not have to be the expert at this, and the way that I do it is the way that I'm doing it.
That's right.
Because I also am going through this as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to realize that teachers are so much more than academic providers. Caleb teaches in a Title I school, so his kids are in situations that are tough, and so it's probably more, when he gets online with his kiddos, it's probably more about their mental health than it is about their academics. Mm-hmm. We want to encourage them to continue learning, but we know they're not going to continue learning if they can't stay mentally healthy. So mental health is pretty important during this time. Yeah. And I think I mentioned it at the beginning, but that's been my biggest struggle. Is I am a person has a diagnosed general anxiety disorder, and one of the things that... It's okay. Sorry, Lola bumped the camera.
And one of the things that I fester and focus on a lot is controlling things and having to be in control. And I feel so out of control right now. There are very few things that I can control about my life right now, and that's just hard for me. Yeah. Also living in a smaller town. Most of my friends live in Chicago. I've been keeping up with them virtually, but for example, I had to cancel my spring break trip to go see my best friend and reschedule it for June, and now that's probably not going to happen either. And then, with the spread, and we knew it was coming statistically, we know that exponential growth tells us that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And there, when it was getting really bad on the East Coast, that was last week. That was just so hard for me to ever think that this was going to end. So that's why, we talk about we need to keep our families healthy. That's why I'm not so upset that I'm going to my parents' house to check in on them. Mom is coming here to check in on me during this time. So yeah.
Those connections are important, and really we have to look at it. We are so lucky that we have each other here. We look at so many people who don't have family close by and who are by themselves or just with their significant other, and so we're pretty blessed to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the cool thing is with technology now, being able to connect to people is so much easier. We just have to remember to do it. We just need to remember to reach out to our friends and reach out to people and say, hey, are you doing okay? Because it's all right if you're not, but let me help you through this.
Yeah, if you're in a place to help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I played Cards Against Humanity with my brothers and sister-in-law the other night online. Never done that before, but it was just what I needed.
Yep.
My little brother, who never cusses, said one of his answers was some goddamn peace and quiet, and it was just so funny. And that was just kind of what I needed. So, but yeah, school is going okay. I'm still working on my master's degree. I don't want to talk about this class right now. We have some difference of opinion on leadership theories, but
can't imagine that Caleb is, opinionated about leadership. Could you? You imagine that?
I wonder where I get it from.
Not for me.
But as far as my kids go, they're working through. We're working on volume right now, and their biggest hang up is writing. It's just they have some trouble generating ideas, which is the same problems we were having in class. Yeah. So I'm not too surprised. But anyway, do you have anything to add to Word Vomit?
No, I think just did want to share one of the things that we're doing is taking part in an activity called Project Dinner, and
you're the one that came up with it.
Well, yeah, but
we're not taking part in it.
I'm kind of spearheading it. But what we do is we know that schools have taken such a role of taking care of our kids for lunch and breakfast, but with a massive number of people that have been laid off or lost their jobs, especially in the service industry, we have a whole bunch of people out here who are struggling with, I'm not sure what I'm going to eat. So twice a week, we've gathered up sponsors, and a local restaurant here, Prime on the Nine, whose manager and chef are really good friends of ours. They've agreed to make some meals for us at a very, very reduced cost. And we find sponsors to help purchase those. And twice a week, we're going out to a couple of businesses at distribution sites and handing out free meals to anybody who needs them. And that's been very good for us as well, because the need is there. And even if it's, twice a week here, let me help you get something to eat, a really good, healthy meal. It's been a real blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we in Dodge City, our main economy is driven by beef production. And so those plants are still open for now. Mm-hmm. And so we have not seen a huge amount of layoffs, but there are lots of people my age who might not be working in the plants who have been laid off. And so I've been...
Restaurant workers, convenience store workers, hair salons, nail salons, all those businesses that were considered non-essential. Then those people are struggling, and they rely on those things. And so we need to help them out if we can.
Yeah. So is there a link that people can donate to?
I will get that to you so that you can put that on there. We participate in a service called PushPay. Yeah.
I don't know what it's
called. It's called PushPay. And if you'd like to help us out, $10, $15, whatever, we'd sure appreciate it.
Yeah. And it's been nice to go out and volunteer in that capacity for myself. I haven't been involved in any of the planning or anything, but the distribution has been something I've taken part of.
Yep.
And it's a need in our community, and as long as we're willing and able, I think we should continue to do that. Yep. I'd also encourage you to look into areas in your or places in your area to support locally. In Dodge City, there really wasn't. It's a small community, so there are not a lot of resources available for things like that. But I'd encourage you to look into your community, and if you're able, provide assistance in any way that you can for those who are less fortunate, or maybe those who have fallen on hard times and don't have the pleasure of sitting down for an hour and knitting because they're trying to figure out who's going to take care of the baby, who's going to feed the baby.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway,
help where we can.
Yeah. Not to end on a depressing. Oh, that's not depressing.
It's not depressing. It's being able to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add?
All right, I'm ready to just go knit again.
Yeah, we need to get this yarn wound up.
That's right.
And then we also need to go do or you need to go do.
I need to go pick up my groceries.
So, I think that's all. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.